All right, welcome in everyone. Welcome in. We are playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles today, and it's going to be an interesting day seeing what exactly happens with Van Zeeks and more importantly, these really sussy witnesses that we have. So let's go ahead and do our intro and then we're gonna hop right on in. So here we go. Greetings friends and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today we're playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in today's episode we are returning to court. But this time we need to re-interview these witnesses, these very suspicious witnesses. A lady who has firecrackers that sound suspiciously like a gunshot. A guy who was the first to discover Van Zeeks at the scene supposedly. I don't know what is going on with these witnesses, but they're definitely hiding something. So without further ado, let's hop into the game. Right. There we go. The mystery of the moving board. So this mystery was how when he first came in, so we decided that the board had to be located behind the door, and that was why Van Zeeks couldn't see the body or the light of the candles, because the board with all of those cases, like the case board, it was knocked over, and supposedly this is the guy that knocked it over when he ran in. So let's see what he has to say for himself. I don't know anything about that there notice board. I just wiped my hand on it, that's all. Oh, well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, just a sign at the crossroads of life. It was that Reaper, I bet. He's got a face that screams bored. What does that even mean? I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. Are you sure it was a gunshot, though? So none of you can elaborate further. Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see. We can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened. That's right, yeah. It don't pay too much. It don't pay to expect too much. It's man's endless quest for knowledge, that's destroying the world. That's what I think. Do you? Really? In any case, as this testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene, although we have a theory for the gunshot, so let's see if we can prove it. In short, the only person who could possibly have committed the crime is Barak Van Zeeks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact. Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witnesses, despite the circumstances? Yeah. Most certainly, my lord. I mean, of course we do. Very well. Then you may proceed, counsel. Okay. Let us see what we got then. Do our cross-examination. History of the moving board. I don't know anything about that there notice board. I just wiped my hand on it, that's all. Hold it! Is that so? So you admit that it was the board you wiped your bloody hand on? I admit it. What's to admit? It's there plain as day for all to see, a smashing print of my right hand. Perhaps you wanted to hide that handprint. So you righted the notice board and pushed it into the corner, did you? No, imagine the weight of that great lump. Do I look like a powerful and well-nurtured man? I mean, you are very tall. Well, did you see anybody else moving the board? I've got nerves of steel, I can tell you, but even I have my limits. There was a body on the floor in front of me, and the Grim Reaper himself standing over it. And there was precious little light inside either. My bottom lip was all a quiver. Was it now? In other words, this witness is unable to give definite testimony on that point. Yes, so it would seem. So moving on. Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time.
Hold it!
Second years? When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks? Yeah, what else? There's the Priory School just around the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have got to plan to blow their school to Kingdom Come. So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to. Oh, you have? Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone to get hurt, so I let the school know the kids are playing with dodgy toys. And then, praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off them. And then, praise the Lord again, the kids all come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, see? She's got a good business model going on. What a racket. Of course. And sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life selling explosives. Venus is a guileful goddess indeed. Well, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing, really. I'm ever so good at it. Really. Why would you admit that in court?
Excuse me.
What do you have to say about this? Something wrong, Mr. Sandwich? If I said it was, could we just leave it at that? Would it be the end of it? No? Did Miss Venus's statement just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Did it? Philosophical thoughts, deep philosophical thoughts. Huh? Let's say there was a great liar. And like a great liar said, without batting an eye, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing. I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too? Or the truth? In which case, she's not a liar. Oh, it's a hellish paradox, that one, don't you think? So if she tells the truth, she's not a liar, but she's lying by saying she was a liar. But then if she was a liar, why would she admit it? Exactly. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying, are you? He's not saying anything now? What are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? I mean, I love how her hair is just like braided into the shape of a noose. I feel like she's very evil. It's like evil in a pretty box, right? Keep on like that. And I'll wrap your whole body in firecrackers and set them off. That'll give you something to tremble about. You have a startlingly disturbing mind behind that sweet and innocent face, young lady. That's exactly what I was just saying. So Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich? He's just trembling. Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Can you elaborate, please, sir? Will he? Old Blabbermouth here headed for the room where the gunshot seemed to come from. But there was someone else who crept up the stairs behind him, too. That's right. That rotten liar over there. Oh, so she wasn't at the school. I don't know why she thinks that's funny. This one was like, I see my case crumbling before my eyes. You mean to say? that you did in fact betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all? What did I tell you, eh? I said I was good at telling barefaced lies, didn't I? Yes. You may have mentioned that. Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it? Who knew the firecracker packed such a punch? I mean, yeah. So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief! Well, now you come to mention it. I suppose perhaps. I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah. Either you clearly remember it, or you don't. Well, I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurous act later. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth. Oh yes, my lord, of course. Oh boy, we've barely gotten through the cross-examination. Maybe I did sneak along behind gossip and have a little peek into the room where it all happened.
Hold it!
You make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus? Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. If you want my advice, though, I'd take everything I say with a big pinch of salt. All right, but you did in fact go to the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you? Oh, please, as if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying. The truth, please. Oh, well, all right, just a bit then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know? Did you touch anything at the scene? Oh, please, as if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor. The truth, please. Well, all right, just a bit then. I had to look to see if there was anything I could sell. So I did give the place a once-over, but it was nothing to write home about. Right. Now, I hesitate to ask, but you didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you? Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change is all I add. The truth, please. Well, all right then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, flipped the blasting thing. You're telling us that you did move that board. I think that did slip out, didn't it? What are you, daft barnpot? I don't believe it. The girl doesn't think. So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps, to sell? Oh, please, I should be so lucky. The truth now. I might have found this old pocket watch under the notice board, I suppose. But a bit of junk like this can't be worth much, if you ask. Oh, it's Gina. So it was you, was it? You're the one what took it. Gina? Young lady, may I remind you where you are? That watch there. That was a present to Inspector Gregson from the yard for a big case he solved 10 years ago. The professor case, no doubt. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. Was it Chips? I see. I swiped it off him once and blimey was he upset. He gave me a right earful. Said he hadn't missed it a day in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did. Possibly not the best thing to go diving for then. It's not all that, though. I took it to Jabez's that night to ask how much it was worth, but the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it, said it wasn't working. Knocked about and worthless, he called it. Ah, I knew I should have lifted it. Oh boy. That watch must be submitted as evidence at once. Oh, please, just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done. Not a chance. I'll swipe it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again. That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith. Now, children, watch your manners. That's exactly what this feels like. Good Lord! The glass appears to be broken. More than likely, it shattered when the inspector was shot. It doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. What a waste, eh? Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. Exactly when the gunshot was heard, then. Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course. Alright, so Gregson's pocket watch has been entered into the court record. It's Gregson's pocket watch that he wound without fail every single day. It's no longer ticking and the glass on the face is cracked. Why would the glass on the face be cracked unless maybe he had it like open at the time? Especially, we need to check that out because I'm curious about it. Well, it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least. And as predicted, it had very little bearing on the case. Ugh. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel. Oh, joy. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life. But you did go to see what happened in the room, didn't you? Fresno Street is my whole world. It's all I know, and I know all of it. I have to make it my business to know if I want to hold my sign high. So you did go to see what had happened. It's not the destination that's important, it's how you get there, isn't it? Did you notice the notice board in the room? If you think about it, we're both the same species, aren't we? Both different members of the sign family. So if I'd spotted it, I might have tried to trip it up out of a sense of rivalry, I admit. Someone really needs to tell you that you're Homo sapiens, not Homo simians. Does that mean that you didn't notice the board? I can only repeat what I said before. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life. In which case, just who was responsible for moving the notice board? Well, we already know that. That would be Little Miss Venus. It was the Reaper. I bet he's got a face that screams, board. Hold it! Please ask what that means. Thank you. Thank you, because I am dying to know. What exactly do you mean by that? Oh, come on now. Don't tell us you'd not notice. He looks like he hates everything in the world, that fella. But not notice boards. They're the one thing he likes. You can see it in his eyes. I can't say I'd ever noticed. I'll tell you one thing for free, though. I never took my eyes off that man on the floor, off of the Reaper, not for a second. Sorry? Well, I was that scared I couldn't. You never know what a fiend like that might do if you look away, do you? If you didn't take your eyes off the defendant, you should be able to confirm categorically whether or not he was the one who moved the notice board. That I can. The Reaper did nothing of the sort. I can swear to that. I couldn't have missed it if he'd heaved that thing up right again and dragged it into the corner. Right. Glad we've cleared that up. What happened to the face that screams bored? I feel your pain, Kazuma. I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. Are you sure about that? It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon that you all heard the loud bang, wasn't it? Maybe the notice board fell over, or maybe it didn't. Maybe I fell over, or maybe I didn't. But the Reaper's fate is sealed either way because of the gunshot we all heard. So your fate's sealed too. My fate? That's right. The defense is fated to lose. Is that so, Kazuma? And the prosecution to win? I don't think so. In other words, it all hinges on that single gunshot. So if I could just find some problem with that part of their story, it may be possible to change all our fates. Of course, no, none of that changes the fact that I heard what I heard, does it? Alright, so not much to go on. As you've pointed out, Mr. Naruhodo, there's no question that the notice board was moved, so somebody must have done it. But it did happen after the event, so maybe Kazuma is right, and it's not relevant to the case. But it seems to have been deliberately positioned so as to hide the body from view. So I feel sure that there's some deeper significance to all of this. Yes, I know what you mean. I've no doubt there are more clues to be uncovered. You're on the right track, I can feel it. So follow your instincts. Alright then. Alright, so we need to check out the watch that we got in our court record, right? Let's see. Alright, so the only things we've gotten, photograph, and then... Is the photograph... I want to look at this. Let's see. There's no watch here, so it kind of makes me wonder. Alright, let's look at this. The glass over the face is really badly cracked, look. What a shame when the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact. But kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruhodo, not an odd job man. Okay, what else do we got? What is this? It's like a notch, a keyhole? Ah, there's a tiny little keyhole here. Can you see? Oh, yes. That's probably for the winder used to wind up the mechanism. Is it the little policeman figure that we found last episode? It looks a little unusual, don't you think? Yes. You'd need just the right key to wind it, I imagine. Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit this hole. It would be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found. Alright, it's the little policeman figurine, right? This. So, we have to twist his head, right? And then the key comes out. The helmet of this charming policeman appears to be a little worse for wear. I'm not convinced about the charming part, but yes, you're right. The head part looks like it's been fairly heavily manhandled, almost as if somebody has enjoyed twisting it around and around for fun. Shall we try twisting it around and around too for fun? Alright, that's gonna give us the key, right? Ah, what's that? It appears to be some sort of key. But it's tiny though. It couldn't be a key for a door, not at that size. So what is it for, I wonder? Alright, so let's look at this. Can we look at the end of it now? Mrs. Otto, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch? Oh, yes, it could be. Let's try it at once. There's not a moment to lose. Alright, so what are we going to find when we wind it? I knew it. A perfect fit. And look, the inspector's watch has started going again. Ah, so it has obviously just not been wound up, that's all. What is it, Mrs. Otto? Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications. She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I'd better start thinking deeply too. Okay, Inspector Gregson's pocket watch that he wound without fail every single day. Having wound it up, it started ticking again. So we need to present this as evidence to who? Maybe Mr. Sandwich? I don't know. All right. So let's see. It's not going to be this one. It's not this one. I don't know anything about anything. It was that Reaper. Is it going to be this last statement? I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. Are we sure though? Can we present the watch to this statement? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but let's give it a try and see. I mean, because maybe he just hadn't wound it up yet.
Objection!
I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh. At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. A key. And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. So it just stopped being wound at 5. If he, let's say, wound it up every day at 4, he still had an hour of clock time before he had to wind it. So what more likely happened was the clock just got unwound because he was unable to wind it because he was dead. So that moves back the time of the murder from 5 o'clock. What? Exactly. He wasn't killed at 5. He was killed before that. Order, order, order! But counsel! The watch was stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock. Yeah, which is just when we heard that gunshot. It is exactly the hour. The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection!
Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. So that's obviously when this crime was committed.
Objection!
Was it though? No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago. Yeah, he took care of this watch every day. So every day he was winding it. Oh, boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did. Right. The victim was in the habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day. Oh, well, how do you explain that? In summary, the evening before the day of the incident when the gunshot rang out from that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch. Exactly. You can't mean. What would stop a man winding his watch if he's been in the habit of winding it every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Oh man, The revelations. Order, order! Council, this is a most extraordinary claim.
Objection.
Extraordinary isn't the word. It's absurd. You claim he was already dead the night before. Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? I mean, they already had one corrupt coroner. On that subject, there is something rather surprising. Didn't it say it was based on the clock? Or, no, yeah, it didn't have a time of death, right? There's actually an omission in the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted. That's right. Wait a minute, you're forgetting that my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in. What do you mean? Like I said, I planted my hand in a dirty great puddle of blood. Yes, so the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh. Okay. He catches on fast, doesn't he?
Objection.
But that blood could be explained in any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. And fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body after he... Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? I mean... Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. I mean, that's true too. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human. The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities. So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example. It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all. Oh boy, was it like some kind of voodoo magic here? But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock that afternoon. That's beyond question. Is it though? What? Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, it isn't beyond the realms of possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all. Oh, please, what are you trying to say? Us knows what we heard, and it was a loud bang that came from that there room. Now you listen to me. A street seller's ears are his livelihood. I don't doubt your ears, sir, but all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise. Eh? Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with the firecrackers. Easy. Something like this. The culprit could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot. Good gracious! The very fireworks that are sold by the witness? Yeah, the liar, the witness that lies all the time. Now, hold on a minute. Are you saying I did it? My pretty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway, see? Not 100 of them together. The Venus special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. Yep. As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact. You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene. I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for these peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection.
But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. Whether it was a gun or a firecracker, the only person present to cause the bang was Barrick Van Zeeks. That's not true. He could even see the body because of the board that we've already established was moved. One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop, see? It's why people like them. I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Objection!
Something about the candles then. Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learned of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a time bomb. Yep. Good heavens, a bomb? Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like. Oh, did they use the pocket watch for it?
Mr. Naruto, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident.
No. Wait. It's the whenever you like part that's important. A timed device. Yes, exactly. A timed device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left. Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a timed device was employed to create the gunshot sound? So, what if it was the candles? Right? Because these two are lit and this one was not. What if it was something like that? Let's try this.
Take that!
As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off. Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet, which presumably passed through the victim. I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible. Why? Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. There are. Goodness, yes, but it's not. Is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound? That's right, there was, but as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun. Which means that the scorching on the candles can't possibly be the result of a gunshot. So what if the time bomb was like the first candle was the igniter? It had to burn all the way down, and then the wick from that one went up to the second candle. It lit down, and then the firecracker was on the third candle. Could that be how it worked? You're suggesting it came from the fireworks. How can that be, eh? The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, the candle and firecrackers were joined together. The culprit somehow attached the firecrackers at a point partway down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burnt down along with the other two until eventually it ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud bang. Maybe. I mean, makes sense. And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they'd heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock. Well, what a plot. Exactly. And this implies that the victim could have died earlier than we'd led to believe. The previous day, even. In fact, that seems likely if he wound his watch in the evening. Now, that's all I says. All I saw the victim going into the building, remember? I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair, even if I wanted to do. So somebody about his build walked in with the wig on, right? The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this. Obviously anybody can wear a wig. So the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely wearing the red hairpiece. Someone else? Do you mean to say? It was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer. Oof. Who's that? Is that... Oh, very impressive, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kazuma? I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I mean, he did. I also noted the lack of a time of death in this report, a stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Order, 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 Prosecutor Ashogi! What on earth do you mean by that statement? I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today. So we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. I mean, that's a good point. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopped watch is just conjecture. But while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it. Well, certainly. I would agree with you. And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing, and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard. Even within the Yard? However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent what case the man was pursuing. Wouldn't you, my learned friend?
I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating.
Yes, I agree, surely. My lord, the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector on the day prior to the incident? Is it the kidnapping case? We were wondering about that, right? So, which is related to Mr. Vigil. So let's present the photograph, because I think something weird was going on with Mr. Vigil, because if you'll recall, he was dismissed from the Barclay prison, which was all tied back to the professor case. So, but Mrs. Vigil said he'd been missing. So what was in this? This is the red. Let's go ahead and present the photograph and see.
Take that!
I can't say I find your answer suggestive of anything in particular. Other than perhaps that it is utterly wrong. That much you have clarified most expertly. What? Congratulations, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. You deserve a reward for that expert display. Okay, so maybe that's not the right evidence then? Did you just draw Karuma on me, my friend?
I think, Mr. Naruhodo, that there's one particular piece of evidence that really does stand out in showing what case Inspector Gregson was investigating.
My lord, I have the answer now. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector on the day prior to the incident? Okay, so what exactly do we have? Was there anything on the notice board itself? A freestanding notice board completely covered in notes and articles related to victims of the Reaper. Was there one in particular that stood out, I wonder? Let's see. I don't think there was anything necessarily on there. I mean, maybe. Old photograph was in... Okay, so that was in Gregson's office. The autopsy report. Crime scene floor plan. What was he investigating? I mean, that came in from the person, his murderer. Photograph of Mr. Vigil. What case was it then? An advertisement from the newspaper that's entitled "To the Red-Headed League." I mean, is that somehow related? Maybe. Red hairpiece on his head. I mean, that's the only other we have two cases. It's either related to the professor case or it's related to the Red-Headed League. Let's look at this. On account of the bequest of the late Ezekiah Hopkins of Lebanon, there's now another vacancy open which entitles a member of the League to a salary of £4 per week for purely nominal services. I don't know that that is relevant. Is it? Let's look at the rest of our evidence and see. A photographic print received from Mrs. Vigil. He appears to have no distinctive facial features. See, I would think it's this case. But what piece of evidence would we need? I would have thought maybe there's something about the photograph that we haven't seen yet. Let's examine it. No, we can't. There's nothing we can observe with that. Other than why was it here? Autopsy report. Do we present the board? Relating to the victims of the Reaper? Who would be victims of the Reaper? Could it be that those two cases are related? I'm not sure. Okay, let's attempt to present the board. It's most likely incorrect, but what else do we do, right? Like, it's either that or the newspaper, I would think. So let's try this first. Try this one first.
Take that!
Okay, so that one is not anything useful either. He's gonna draw it again. And then we gotta go through this again. It's gotta be the newspaper then, right? There's nothing else that makes sense. I mean, now that I think about it, so it has to be the Red-Headed League article, but why? Is that just a red herring, so to speak? I don't know. Nothing. Maybe he thinks it's related to something else, but he had the red hair piece as well. Maybe there was two red hair pieces. Let's see.
Take that!
I believe this red hair piece points to the answer. We might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not. Such a brightly colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd, except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League. The Red-Headed League? So, you'd already worked it out. What on earth is this all about? Is there such an extraordinary League of Gentlemen? The Red-Headed League is currently under investigation for a grand deception. A deception of what nature, Counsel?
they've been targeting red-headed men across all of London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once. The two redheads? Oh boy. This is just getting interesting. Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece, so it's very likely he had direct contact with these criminals. And it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. That's true. I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored.
Well done, Mr. Norhodo. Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us at least.
The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these 2 red-headed league conspirators before me, Prosecutor Shogi. At once, my lord. Very good. We will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned.
Oh boy, what are we gonna find out? Man. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Alright, let's give it a save. Alright, which one? Right here. Alright. Now, I think we're gonna save the start of that section for next time. So let's go ahead and head back to the main menu here. Alright. Back to the title. Oh man, so I feel like we clearly have shown that Van Zieks is not the guilty party here. But who is? Is it one of these red-headed league gentlemen that we will be finding out about? I don't know. It seems to be connected, but why? What exactly is going on here? We're gonna have to find all this out and more in the next episode. So if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live or on Twitch at twitch.tv/LeAR27, I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games we're playing each day, I post them on x.com/LeAR27. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye. All right. Well, that was interesting. I don't know what to expect there. That's gonna be so weird. Like, what exactly are we gonna see there? I don't know. But that is going to be it for us today, guys. We're gonna end a little bit early. My voice is actually not feeling too bad. I want to make sure it kind of stays that way. And yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. Let's see who we can raid. How about Honey Bunny Killer? She's playing The Long Dark. Let's go say hi to her. So we will be back here on Tuesday at 6 p.m. And we are actually going to be playing Phasmophobia, I believe, with Night Flurry and Math and Phoenix instead of on Thursday, because Night starts her college semester and Thursday is a conflict. So we're going to swap it up for a semester at least. And so we'll have Phasmo on Tuesday. So that will be at 6 p.m. It's going to be all kinds of interesting, but we will be back there then. So actually before that, oh my gosh, I completely forgot today is Saturday. Brain not braining, guys, excuse me. We're gonna be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. to play my favorite game ever, TCG Card Shop Simulator. And also after that, we're gonna play Myst 3. So there you go, next 2 streams lined out tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central, and then Tuesday at 6 p.m. So, but tomorrow is the next one, so make sure you tune in. Thank you everybody for hanging out. I appreciate you. I definitely need some more coffee, and let's go check out Honey Bunny Killer while I get some coffee. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye!